Hey guys, we are back. And if you have been listening for a while, you have heard me go on and on about being in the middle of uncertainty, feeling the discomfort of the unknown and big changes coming, and what it means to really have faith in the surrender of life. Today, I'm going to share with you a personal test that I've gone through recently that I feel like is really relatable for all of us because it's something that we all experience and have experienced throughout our lives. And I think that what this lesson has taught me is that even though it's hard when it comes to releasing what we are meant to and the rejection that may come along with it, it's really a necessary part of our story. So I'm going to share. Like I said, if you have been a listener since the beginning, you know that a lot of change has come over my life in the last handful of months. I keep joking that I'm on my 17th identity crisis of 2025. And really, that's exactly what it feels like. But specifically within my career and within my purpose. I started this podcast because I wanted to be of service. I want to use my voice to make a positive impact and share my story so that others can be inspired to share theirs. I've cut back on my hours and my schedule at the salon. For those of you just tuning in, I'm a hairdresser and have been for the last almost 16 years. But because I'm a firm believer that if you want to call in something new, you have to create space for it in your life. So I've been setting intentions, asking God every day to align me with divine will so that I may step further into this new chapter. And you know what? It's working. And I say that with some resistance because it's just not working in the way that I intended it to. Surprise, surprise. It didn't show up magically by me getting this big offer to make millions of dollars off this podcast or a clear as day sign of what to do next. It didn't show up as a new job offer or a surprise check in the mail or going viral on TikTok. No, what has happened over the last few months is I've had 3 color clients disappear from my books. I've had multiple no-shows in one day. I've had schedules that no longer align, and young boy clients I've had to send to the barber for their TikTok-worthy haircuts that are just not in my wheelhouse. And as all of this has happened, has my schedule cut back organically? Yes, it has. Is it in a way that makes me feel as though I am in control of it? No, absolutely not. So do you see the dilemma here? Do you see the dilemma? It's one thing for us to ask for change in our lives. It's another to begin experiencing them. Eesh. It's got to sting a little bit. It's got to sting a little bit. The fear that crawls up your throat, the uncertainty that settles into your gut, the worry that spins through your mind. This had been my state in very small ways and bigger ones over the course of the last few weeks. And what did I do in reaction to it? Well, I'm going to be completely honest. At first, I panicked. I began to let all of those emotions win. I worried that I had done something wrong, that I wasn't good enough or relevant at my job anymore. I feared that I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. I didn't understand why it was all happening at once. Yes, I was asking for change, but I was really hoping when I was setting these intentions, like we all do when change is among us, that it was going to go seamlessly. And fortunately enough, because of the healing work that I have done, because I've known that this is going to be a season of letting go and surrendering to life, I've been able to do a better job observing myself while reacting to all of these emotions. And I think that that is one of the most powerful tools that we can attain in this life, is when we can learn to start observing our reactions to the changes. Even if we still have a projected reaction, that's okay. We're human. But it's when we can also observe it while it's happening. It's the beauty of self-awareness. It's the beauty of the healing work. And so that led me to sitting with it, with all of these emotions that I have been feeling, all of these things that have been coming up for me, the worry, the panic, the fear. So I sat on my bed with my eyes closed tight, my hand on my heart. I gave myself permission to feel it all. And instead of allowing the worst case scenarios to keep flying through my mind, I gave the space that my emotions needed to be released, to be paid attention to give them the voice that they needed to teach me, to tell me, to speak to me what I needed to learn from them. And as I sat there, do you want to know what I heard? This is what you've been asking for. Ugh. Once again. And to be honest, that realization stung more than the actual rejection that I had been feeling. Because in that moment, it became less about the other people and more about me. This is what you've been asking for. And honestly, a part of me, it made me want to argue with what the universe had provided, because I wanted to say, well, not in this way, not without opening a new door of opportunity right away, not without me being in control, not without a substantial plan of what came next. If the universe could laugh, I think it would have in that moment. Because that's not how it works. Faith, manifestation, prayer, and truly following the plan that God has set out for you, most of the time, it doesn't come from the well-planned, thoroughly thought out moments. It comes from the times when we're overwhelmed with fear, asked to walk down the road less traveled, and pushed way out of our comfort zone. It's when you're called to take the risk, to leap with only a deep knowing that you will be caught. I mean, how often do we hear stories of the people who played it safe their entire lives? How often do we pick up a book to read about somebody's life when they always colored in the lines? No, you don't admire, look up to the people who stayed in their comfort zone always. It's those people who took risks. It's those people who colored outside of the lines. It's those people that made an impact while they were probably scared shitless. And that's what I want to do. I want my life to be a life that colors a bit outside of the lines. I mean, to be honest, it really has been so far. So we're on the right path. But what I realized is I heard those whispers over and over again. This is what you have been asking for. I understood all of these thoughts that were swimming in my mind were only truly confirming one thing, that they had all come from my ego, not from my spirit. And because that's what our ego attempts to do, right? Avoid taking responsibility to keep us safe. It wants to blame other circumstances or people or God for our discomfort, because why would we be the reason why we're uncomfortable? It's their fault because they didn't communicate with me. I did something to offend them. They forgot. And now I'm paying for it. The hair trends these days are getting out of control. I'm being punished. God misinterpreted. The mind can be relentless. And it doesn't mean that I actually believe any of those things that popped into my head. This is where the observing comes in. When you can observe it, number one, you don't shame yourself for feeling that way. You don't judge yourself for having those thoughts. You allow yourself to just kind of go through the motions internally and know at the end of it that they are not truth, that they are just ego. They are just protection and old patterns and conditionings of life. But it's what leads us to that reactive state when we let it become a free-for-all. And when we can stop and give ourselves the space to get beyond all of the noise, we realize that what we think doesn't always align with what we feel. Because deep down, we know that change isn't going to be seamless. It never is. But change is going to come with uncertainty. And all our ego wants is absolution. We want to believe that we are in control of getting the things that we desire, when in reality, we're only co-creators. We must do our work. We must show up. We must set the intentions and be willing to take action when necessary. But there is a very big part of what unfolds in our lives is when we're able to co-create and work with the energy of the universe. We have to align ourselves with that energy so that it can do the rest. Instead of us just ping-ponging through life, trying to make the things happen that we think should happen and constantly feeling all of this resistance to it. We've talked about this so many times before. When we're living in the contrast to life, it makes things so much more difficult. And I think that when we wake up, when we realize that we are co-creators, we get to pursue this life in a way that makes us feel alive, because that's exactly what we're meant to do. We realize that it's not always going to be comfortable. And let me also clarify that this doesn't actually have anything to do with any of these people or these clients. When I've encountered clients going to another stylist in the past, it doesn't actually make me upset with them. So if anybody is listening, I still love you. But it does elicit emotions. Again, because I'm human. Maybe it's relief. Maybe it's rejection. But it doesn't actually have anything to do with the other person. Sometimes you need fresh conversation, talent, perspective, even on your hair. That's okay. That's understandable. It's taken me years to get here. I didn't necessarily have this perspective when I first started, but I understand that it's not personal. And even if it is, that's also okay. And that's something for them to unpack, me to unpack, if and when necessary. But what these feelings can elicit as a result of these things can also be another story entirely. And again, these are feelings that are my responsibility, not anybody else's. And that's why I'm here talking about it. Because again, I think this is something that is so common and so relatable. A lot of times when something happens that makes us feel fearful, worried, panicked, rejected, we want to find something outside of us to blame. And that doesn't mean that we need to turn the tables on ourselves and blame ourselves. No, it's just about taking responsibility for the emotions that show up. And, again, when we believe that when we pray, manifest, or ask the universe to provide something for us, that we're going to receive it on a silver platter. And 9 times out of 10, that's just not the case, because most of the time it shows up through a lesson that we need to learn before we can step into this new chapter. And it doesn't matter if it's jobs, relationships, family dynamics, divorce. The list goes on and on and on. You set the intention. You wish for a change. And yet, while the change happens or unfolds, you become frantic because you can't control every aspect of it. We end a relationship or get broken up with. We're upset, heartbroken, but weren't actually happy with how things were in the relationship. Yet, we fear the unknown of being alone. We hate our job, and then we get fired or the company shuts down. We're pissed because our ego is taking a hit, and we fear the uncertainty of our financial situation. We want to cut back our work schedule, and suddenly 3 clients fall off into the ether. You see what I'm getting at here? The universe is answering. God is hearing our prayers and pleas, but what happens in that moment when we feel that initial sting of rejection? When we realize how uncomfortable it is to get what we ask for in a way that requires us to be patient, not instantly validated by our request. Or as our society has become more and more consumed with instant gratification, doesn't feel good right away. Then our ego wants to react. It tells us that this feels unsafe, and it tries to find a reason for it. And then it tells us that we should do something to make it all better. Maybe we should people please that partner that left us so that they come back, because we'd rather settle than be alone. We blame our old boss for not liking us when hating our job so much probably didn't make us the greatest at it. We think we need to add all of those hours back into our schedule and overanalyze every appointment to make sure that the service we provide is good enough. We project, and our ego can take the reins of our vulnerability and drive us straight back into survival mode. And that's where the observation comes in. Because what happens if we don't react? What happens if we just allow ourselves to sit in the discomfort for a moment? What happens if we recognize these emotions and then really allow ourselves to be honest about how we feel about this particular situation in our life? What if, again, as we're observing the ways in which we felt, rather than projecting them out into the world, we begin to find clarity. We begin to find understanding. We begin to see a path forward that we never saw before. When I found out about these clients, or as I started to notice this taking place in my books, I felt worried and as if I had done something wrong. Now, granted, at the same time, knowing when I cut back my schedule, I was going to have some of these conversations with some of these clients. But again, the way that it was taking place felt out of my control. And so then I wanted to take it personally. I wanted to think, oh, they just don't like me. That's why they left. I felt fearful about the financial stability because a new opportunity hasn't necessarily come in yet. And that rejection, that feeling of not good enough, made me feel as though I had failed. But again, when I sat down when I gave all of these emotions the space that they had been asking for to just be seen, to just be seen, to just be observed. That's when I heard it. That's when I heard that whisper. This is what you've been asking for. It just wasn't on your terms. It just wasn't in the way you expected. Trust. Have faith. Believe that I will never let you fall. Faith is a beautiful concept until you're really asked to practice it. We all experience it every day. We say that we believe. We say that we have faith in God or life or the universe or the divine. Sometimes we say we have faith in nothing at all. But that's still having it. It's just not giving it a direction. Yeah, rejection hurts, but it can also heal. It's the age-old saying, one door closes, another door opens. We just have to be willing to let the first door close and not jam our foot in between so that it can't close all the way without shaming ourselves to death before we get to the other door or tucking tail and darting back through. Sometimes that's an option. Other times it's not. But even then, even if it's not an option to run back through that other door, we can kill these new opportunities with our own self-doubt, with our own mind, our own energy leak, just allowing it to consume us, allowing those negative emotions to never truly be expressed and allowing our ego to just call all the shots. It can keep us stagnant. It can keep us still. It's in the letting go. It's in the releasing. It's in allowing and knowing that this other door is going to open because it is meant to. It's about having perspective, seeing it from a different lens that allows us to be able to continue to move forward. And when we set that foundation of love within us, and when we can have a true acceptance for all that life will bring, even when it's hard, and an understanding that it's not going to all go perfectly all the time, when we try to hold on to control, that will be tested. Because when we ask for something new within our lives, it can be provided, just not always in the way that we think it should. So that's why it's important to take that step back, to see it from a grander view, to get out of our own way. And we just might see how the pieces may be falling into place. I say this all of the time. I don't believe everything happens for a reason, but I do believe that you can find reason in everything that happens. So when we can look at it like that, it gives us the opportunity to move on after heartbreak. It's how we heal through grief. It's how we start over again and again and again, finding reason in the discomfort. And when we can stop pointing the finger at the outside world, trying to blame someone or something for what it is we're feeling inside, and when we can just get comfortable with feeling it, it once again puts us back in alignment with this life that we are living. It's not about blame for ourselves or for others, because shame doesn't get us anywhere. It's about answering the call. It's about getting out of our heads and into our hearts. It's about truly seeing how good life can get if we really know who we are, what we want, how we feel, not being at the whims of our ego or our projections, but feeling our truth, living by our truth, speaking our truth. It's about taking responsibility for our own lives. It's about creating a life that we truly enjoy to live. But we can't hold all of the things all of the time. We can't cling to the old and expect something new. We have to test ourselves. We have to be willing to let go. Even when it stings, even when it's hard, even when we're challenged. So if you are avoiding your feelings, if that sting of rejection has you bitter, resentful, gripping onto the steering wheel and refusing to let go, acknowledge it. Sit in front of the mirror and ask yourself, how does this make me feel? Without any shame or judgment, I want you to answer it. I want you to look yourself in the eyes in that mirror and answer it. The first thing that comes to your mind. And then ask yourself why. Listen to that answer. Then ask yourself why again, and so on and so forth until you get to the bottom of what it is that is projecting out of you. No, it's not going to automatically feel better. Sometimes, maybe, the relief of just expressing it or getting it out. But you're giving it voice. You're taking some of its power and giving it back to your spirit. When we can give our emotions even a moment of space to breathe, we can find relief. Healing doesn't prevent us from feeling hurt again. It just gives us the power to navigate it in an empowered way. Having faith doesn't mean that we won't be tested. It means we're signing up to partake in the hardest test of all. Letting go doesn't mean that it will be effortless, easeful. It just means that we're allowing ourselves to live a life that is free. So feel that sting. Find awareness for the ache it brings. Feel it in your body. Understand that if you are trying to create change in your life and it shows up in a different way than you planned it, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. Maybe God, the universe, life is redirecting you to where you are meant to be all along. All right, guys. As always, I'm grateful to have you here. If you enjoyed this episode, if you resonate with this message at all, please leave a review. Share it with a friend. Share it to your social media platform. I'd love for you to come say hi over on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at Turn the Page Podcast and hear how you've navigated rejection or change in your life in the past, or if you're navigating it right now. Part of the reason why I'm here sharing week after week is because I know that so many of us are navigating and traveling through things that are so similar. And it's when we can share our story, when we can share what we're going through and what we've been through, that we can connect that much deeper. We can know that we're not alone, and we can learn and love and be open to what life has to offer. All right. I love you guys. Until next time.